Welcome to an in-depth exploration of hidden patterns, numbers, and their mysterious connections across film, politics, and real-world events. This investigative report, authored by John Simon, uncovers a web of numerical codes and coincidences that link classic television, cinema, and significant historical tragedies. Over the next several scenes, we'll unravel how a simple method of flipping numbers, such as turning a 6 into a 9, reveals a pattern that stretches from the Twilight Zone to political scandals and even tragic accidents. Let's begin by understanding the foundation of this investigation and the method behind the numbers. The heart of Simon's investigation is the concept of flipping numbers, transforming a 6 into a 9 and vice versa. This technique, seemingly simple, is applied to dialogues and statistics found in films and real events. By acknowledging and applying this method, Simon claims to uncover a hidden statistical pattern that persists regardless of the context. This approach is not just a mathematical trick, but a lens through which dialogues and events are reinterpreted, revealing connections that might otherwise remain invisible. The journey begins with the iconic Twilight Zone episode, Where Is Everybody?, which aired on October 2, 1959. In this episode, actor James Gregory delivers a line referencing 484 hours and 36 minutes. Simon identifies this as a key numerical marker. By multiplying these numbers, he arrives at 17,424, which becomes a foundational figure in his analysis. This episode, with its themes of isolation and mystery, sets the stage for the investigation's broader exploration of hidden connections. Moving to the 1962 film The Manchurian Candidate, James Gregory again plays a pivotal role. Throughout the film, his character references various numbers of communists in the US government: 207, 104, 275, and 57. Simon meticulously tracks these numbers, noting their appearance at different points in the film. By adding and manipulating these figures, he uncovers patterns that seem to echo those found in the Twilight Zone episode, suggesting a deliberate or subconscious link between the works. Simon's analysis takes a dramatic turn when he combines numbers from both the Twilight Zone and the Manchurian Candidate. For example, multiplying 484 by 36, and then adding 57 yields 17,481. Simon interprets this as a code for 9/11/1, suggesting a hidden relationship between seemingly unrelated events and the infamous date. This method of reinterpretation is applied throughout his investigation, drawing connections that challenge conventional understanding. Simon continues his exploration by adding together Gregory's numbers from both films, arriving at totals like 49,022. By flipping the 9 to a 6, he gets 46,022. Adding 57 to 49,022 gives 49,079, which when flipped becomes 46,076. These manipulations are not arbitrary. Simon sees them as markers, specifically identifying the number 6240 as significant. This act of flipping is also observed in other films, such as The Pawnbroker and another Twilight Zone episode, reinforcing the pattern. Investigation delves into the statistical relationships between numbers mentioned in the Manchurian Candidate. For instance, adding 484, 36, 207, 104, and 275 yields 1,106. Multiplying this by 57 gives 63,042, which Simon reinterprets as 6240, isolating the number 3 for what he calls ritual inclusion. These calculations, though complex, are central to Simon's argument that a hidden code runs through these cultural artifacts. In the Manchurian Candidate's train scene, character Eugenie provides an address and phone number: 54th Street, 53 West 54th, apartment 3B, and the phone number El Dorado 59,970. Simon notes that the phone number is stated twice, so he multiplies it by 2, arriving at 119,940. Flipping the 99 to 66, he gets 116,640, which he again interprets as 6240. These repeated patterns reinforce his belief in a deliberate code embedded within the film. Simon adds together all the numbers from the train scene: 54, 53, 54, 3, and 59,970, totaling 60,134. Multiplying by 2 gives 120,104, which he reinterprets as 401 and 6240. This further supports the statistical pattern he's identified, suggesting that these numbers are not random, but part of a larger interconnected code. Simon extends his analysis to the dates of the Twilight Zone episode and the Manchurian Candidate's release. The span from October 2, 1959 to October 24, 1962 is 1,119 days, which he interprets as 9/11/1. This method of converting days between events into symbolic codes is a recurring theme in his investigation, linking pop culture to major historical incidents. Manchurian Candidate's book publication date, April 27, 1959, is also analyzed. Simon calculates the days from this date to his own birthday, August 21, 2001, arriving at 16,059, which he reinterprets as 9/11/01. Including all dates, the sum is 32,121, which he links to Manhattan's 212 area code. Even the book's OCLC number, 52,409,655, is interpreted as containing 91101 and 6240, further entwining personal, literary, and historical threads. Investigation shifts to real-world tragedy. The April 4, 1991, plane crash that killed Senator John Hines and 6 others, including 2 children. Simon examines the statistical and political relationships between this crash, the 9/11 attacks, and the previously discussed films. He suggests that the numbers and dates surrounding these events are not coincidental, but part of a broader hidden pattern. Simon calculates the days from the Twilight Zone's original air date to the Hines plane crash, 11,929 days, which he interprets as 9/11/1. Similarly, the days from the Manchurian Candidates released to the crash total 10,389, reinterpreted as 9/11/01. These calculations reinforce his belief in a persistent, coded relationship between media and real-life tragedies. Simon draws connections between the 2000 Bush-Gore election and his own life. The days from the 1991 crash to the election total 3,506, which he interprets as 563, his street address while attending Roosevelt Elementary in Pomona, California. He also references the Hopkins twins, his schoolmates, and his home at 69 Driggs Ave in Brooklyn, tying personal history to national events and the construction of the Twin Towers. Heinz-Kraft merger, believed by Simon to have closed on July 2, 2015, is also analyzed. The days from this merger to the Twilight Zone episode total 20,362, reinterpreted as 62,403. From the merger to the Manchurian Candidate's release, the total is 19,245 days, which Simon links to 9/11/1. These corporate milestones are woven into the same numerical tapestry as the films and tragedies. Simon notes that the days from the Heinz-Kraft merger to his own birth date total 19,674, which he interprets as 9/11/16. The number 6, he suggests, represents the number of deaths in the Aerostar plane and helicopter crash. This personalizes the pattern, drawing Simon himself into the web of tragedy and coded numbers. Simon's investigation turns to his own divorce from Susan Green, later known as Susan Joyner. He believes the marriage and divorce were manipulated for political purposes, linking them to both the Aerostar crash and the 9/11 attacks. The final judgment of divorce on April 8, 1994, to the Bush-Gore election spans 2,406 days, which he reinterprets as 6240. This, he claims, marks his Malvern home as a symbolic site related to 9/11. Simon alleges that he was forced out of his home and away from his children through manipulative means involving both West Virginia and California bureaucracies. He suggests that these actions were not isolated, but part of a larger, illegitimate enterprise connected to the patterns he's identified. The investigation thus expands from numbers and dates to include systemic manipulation and personal loss. Throughout his report, Simon emphasizes the recurrence of specific numbers and patterns across decades. Whether in film, politics, or personal life, the same codes, 9/11/1, 6240, and others, appear repeatedly. This consistency, he argues, is evidence of a hidden structure underlying both cultural products and real-world events. Actor James Gregory serves as a linchpin in Simon's investigation. His roles in both the Twilight Zone and the Manchurian Candidate provide the numerical data that Simon analyzes. Gregory's repeated involvement in works that contain these patterns suggests, to Simon, a deeper connection between the actor, the scripts, and the events that followed. Simon references another Twilight Zone episode, Death Heads Revisited, which aired in 1961. The act of flipping numbers, central to his analysis, is also identified in this episode. This reinforces the idea that the pattern is not isolated to a single work, but recurs throughout the series and beyond. The 1964 film The Pawnbroker is also cited as containing the act of flipping numbers. Simon's identification of this motif in multiple films suggests that the code is embedded across different genres and stories, further supporting his theory of a widespread intentional pattern. Even bibliographic details like the OCLC number for the Manchurian Candidate, 52,409,655, are analyzed for hidden codes. Simon interprets this number as containing references to 9/11/01 and 6240, suggesting that even cataloging systems are not immune to the pattern. Simon's own addresses, such as 563 Date Street and 69 Driggs Ave, are woven into the narrative as markers that align with the numerical patterns found elsewhere. These personal details are not just background information, but are presented as integral to the broader code. Simon recounts being forced to move from Brooklyn, where he could see the Twin Towers, to California. He links this move, and his subsequent attendance at Roosevelt Elementary with the Hopkins twins, to the broader pattern of manipulation and coded events. The Twin Towers themselves become a symbol within his narrative. Throughout his calculations, Simon often isolates the number 3 for what he calls ritual inclusion. This suggests that certain numbers are not just part of the pattern, but hold special significance, possibly relating to symbolic or ritualistic meanings within the broader code. Simon's narrative accuses both state and federal bureaucracies of manipulation, suggesting that his personal tragedies are not isolated incidents, but part of a larger, orchestrated effort. This extends the investigation from numerical patterns to institutional behavior and systemic issues. Simon's divorce from Susan Green/Joyner is presented as more than a personal event. It becomes a key marker within the pattern. The timing, the legal proceedings, and the aftermath are all interpreted as aligning with the numerical codes he's identified, further blurring the line between personal experience and broader historical events. As the investigation draws to a close, Simon reflects on the hidden structures he believes underlie both cultural products and real-world events. The recurrence of specific numbers, the manipulation of dates, and the alignment of personal and historical tragedies all point, in his view, to a deliberate coded system that demands further scrutiny. John Simon's investigative report leaves us with more questions than answers. Are these patterns truly evidence of a hidden code, or are they the result of coincidence and selective interpretation? Regardless, the journey through numbers, films, politics, and personal history challenges us to look deeper into the connections that shape our world. The search for meaning, hidden or otherwise, continues.